Ahoy there crew, this is your captain speaking, and today we're making some more funguary artworks. The first mushroom I turned into a character is called the pink waxcap, but it is also known as the ballerina waxcap. Because of this, I decided to draw a dancer. I wanted the piece to be reminiscent of those music boxes with a little ballerina attached to them. I started off this piece by coming up with a nice pose. The pose I put together ended up with her having her back turned to us. I haven't drawn a character from behind in a very long time. I wanted to keep it simple so that she would still match the theme of her being a music box ornament. I had some room to make her arms pose in a way that would make her look more interesting, but also help with the flow of the piece. The key detail I wanted to keep in mind is that the mushroom sort of starts off like this, and over time opens up a little more to look like this. I wanted to mimic that with the character's dress. I was going to go with a more mermaid-like shape, but ended up making it more of a tier dress like Karina's. As with my previous funguary video, I color picked colors from a reference again. I only used those colors on the character herself though. I did my best to pick a matching brown for the pedestal she is standing on. I think the colors mesh pretty well together. I decided to make the lighting a little more dramatic for this piece again, with a light source coming from in front of our character. This gave me the chance to darken the shadows and push the highlights a little more. I made sure to go in with some darker shading in some parts to give her more depth. The rare render made the colors look a lot more purple than they originally were in the end, but I decided to keep it that way. Because of the dark shadows, I would probably have had a hard time if I tried to make her and her dress more pink, like the mushroom itself. For the background, I went in with a leafy scene again. I know I should really just practice doing proper backgrounds, but playing around with a leaf brush is just too fun. I didn't like this piece a whole lot at first, but I think it turned out pretty good looking back at it now. I could have pushed the contrast between the character and the background a bit more. Her face blends in a lot in my opinion, especially when you look at things in grayscale. Overall, I do think she looks good, and some few correction layers might just fix the issue, but here is the final artwork. Just popping in to let you know my commissions are open, so if you like what you see and would like an artwork for yourself, please consider taking a look at my Ko-fi. I'll leave a link down in the description. This next piece gave me some major issues. I had to scrap my first try because of how bad it was. I'll just show you guys a quick speed paint of what I was doing for that one. I'll probably be the only one who hates it this much, but I just couldn't bring myself to finish that. This piece is based off the fairy ring mushroom. There are a lot of different mushrooms that grow in fairy rings, but there is one specifically one that's called the fairy ring mushroom for some reason. I looked at different descriptions of fairy rings in folklore for some inspiration. For the first try, I wanted to have an old fairy character I designed lead the viewer away. In folklore, the fairy rings often results from fairies or elves dancing. There was even one source that said witches. A lot of folklore describes the fairy rings as being the result of fairies or elves dancing. One source even said witches. Fairy rings were regarded as dangerous places where you could be cursed, and I think possibly even a place where people would be spirited away in some way. But of course I scrapped that piece, so let's move on from that. This is what I actually ended up drawing. A tiny girl peeking out from behind one of the fairy mushrooms. She's actually based on an OC I haven't actually designed. So this is sort of a test of what I want her to look like. She's very reserved and doesn't really try new things, but is forced to go out into the world on her own. I used a grass brush to block out the basic shapes of the grass before going over it myself. This is probably a better way to draw these more organic shapes that I tend to use brushes for. I should really try to use this method more instead of just the brushes. I kept this piece a lot more simple and opted for thicker lines. I still wasn't sure whether I prefer the thinner or thicker lines, but after this I definitely prefer the thin lines. The thick lines make everything look so bulky. I color picked the colors from the actual mushroom again, but adjusted them a little more this time. I also added in some extra colors for our little character. After getting my colors together, I just rendered the piece like usual. For the background, I just went with something basic, a small rectangle that fades away at the top. I also used one of the brushes to make dots everywhere to maybe indicate stars. I really wish I drew this piece with a thinner brush. It would have looked so cute, especially when it comes to the character. She looks so unbelievably chunky because of the thick lines. I do think overall it looks pretty good. It looks like something you might print on a notebook or shirt or something. If only the lines were a little thinner. But here she is. I hope you guys like her. I'm sure you'll be able to see what I mean with the chunky lines. But that's all for today. Be sure to like and subscribe to join our little pirate crew. It would mean a lot if you could help us get to our next goal of 100 subs. We're getting so close. But until our next voyage then, bye bye!